Greetings. Peace be with you. So in this video, I want to dive into 3 things that make men weak. Okay? So weakness is the opposite of power. And power is nothing more than your ability to create results in your life. Okay? Power comes from the Latin root posse, which simply means ability. Okay? We're not talking about power as in control over other people. We are talking about personal power, your ability to conceive of an image in your head and to begin taking action towards creating that vision into reality, into this physical world, right? Starting with the mental and creating that around you, right? That is the definition of power in my eyes. Now, the first thing that makes men weak is, what do you think it is? It is lack of vision for the future. Okay. So I was out for a walk yesterday with a friend of mine back from high school. Okay. I hadn't met him in a while. And I asked him, I'm like, yo, man, what's exciting you these days? And he tells me literally nothing. I'm just taking each day as it comes, just passing the time. And this is the one difference between boys and men. Okay? Doesn't matter if you're 15 years old, doesn't matter if you're 70 years old, okay? A man is actively engaged in the process of creating his life. Okay? A boy is passively engaged in the process of being created by his life. He's just waiting to see where life takes him. He is a leaf blowing in the wind. And like I said, age is not a factor in this apartment. What matters is your vision for the future. And understand that you can't change the past, okay? You can change your conception of it. You can change the context so that it empowers you. The present moment just lasts a moment, right? It's very hard to change the moment other than changing your attitude towards it, right? Accepting what is, loving what is. But the future is where our power exists to create it, okay? To become a conscious creator of your reality, first and foremost, you master your attitude in the present for sure. But in order to go ahead and bend the structure of reality, it really comes down to starting with that vision, having that idea in terms of what it is that you seek to create, making sure that that vision wakes you up in the morning, it excites you, it drives you, right? It motivates you. It's something that you use to dictate your decisions from a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. Is what I'm about to do right now going to move me closer to my vision or not? Because if you don't have that vision, you have nothing to judge your present behavior by. You're just going to be pulled this, that, and the other way. But when you have a vision and you begin with the end in mind, you know what future it is that you seek to create. You then use that to filter through to your decisions right here, right now, to ensure that they are moving you towards that vision. Okay, very, very important to begin with the end in mind, to know where you are headed, to have an idea of what it is that you seek to create. And the more clarity you can seek on this, of course, it will be an ever evolving process of seeking clarity in terms of your path, your purpose, the future that you seek to create. But having that vision is essential to transition and evolve to become the conscious creator of your reality. You must have an image of what it is that you seek to create. Okay? Now, the second thing that makes men weak is lack of emotional intelligence. Now, this is oftentimes described to as our ability to assess the emotional predispositions of someone else so that we can effectively communicate with them. But in my experience, it really starts with the self. All knowledge starts and ends with the self. I think it was Leonardo da Vinci who said that there's no knowledge like self-knowledge, right? The Oracle of Delphi said, know thyself. And as I look back and reflect on my journey and look back at my lack of emotional intelligence, which is really my inability to understand my own emotions, okay? If you really want to know how you feel about something, look at your emotions, right? A spiritual mentor of mine says that feelings are the language of the soul. And when I look back at my own experience of going through the motions of, you know, engaging in destructive habits, it really came down to a lack of awareness about my emotions. And as I look back, it's like, okay, I felt uncomfortable. I felt a certain emotion. I felt anger. I felt shame. I felt guilt. But rather than asking myself why I feel this way, I would I would escape those emotions, whether it was through the booze, whether it was through the busting nuts, whether it was through watching TV, whether it was through procrastination, whether it was through watching endless amounts of YouTube videos, escaping my reality. Okay, people aren't addicted to pornography, they aren't addicted to sugar, they aren't addicted to alcohol. They are addicted to escaping reality, to escaping how they feel. And when we elevate our level of emotional intelligence, we get perspective on why we feel the way that we do, and understanding that emotions are nothing more than signals that we have that reflect to us on whether we are walking our authentic path and purpose or not. When we feel depression, when we feel anxiety, when we feel those lower level emotions, it is really a signal that is meant to bring us back on our path. But when we escape them, when we are going to the doctor for this and they're telling us that we're clinically depressed, they're giving us the pill, and that pill blocking off the feedback loop whereby you feel depressed or you feel anxious or you feel this lower level emotion, but then it just numbs it out so that you don't have that feedback. You don't know how you can improve moving forward. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to offer anything other than my perspective. Okay, take it. Okay, like if it makes sense to you, if it resonates with you, for sure implement it into your life. If it doesn't, that's also amazing. Of course, I encourage you to have your own perspective, right? To think about stuff for yourself. I think the number one danger that a lot of us are going through is that of dogmatism, right? Just because we saw someone else say something, or because our parents did something, or because something that we heard on the news, just because it was there we believe it rather than questioning it. Okay, question everything, but just understand that emotions are the language of our soul. And when we aren't emotionally intelligent, when we don't ask ourselves that question, when we escape our emotions, when we suppress our emotions, when we repress our emotions, that is when they begin to express themselves in weird ways. Okay, like the more that you suppress something, the more it will just come out in a totally different direction. Okay, it's going to come out as anger, it's going to come out as frustration. Like I remember, like I used to get very, very triggered. I still get triggered, right? This is not this stuff that I'm still dealing with. I still get triggered, but I am able to put myself in the space between stimulus and response and look at why I got triggered, and then choose how I respond rather than react based on conditioning. Okay, that really is the difference between a man and a boy. Okay, a man is more like a thermostat. He dictates his response, he chooses his most empowered response rather than react based on conditioning. Okay, a thermometer, whatever the environment is like, the thermometer is going to reflect that. With a thermostat, no matter what the environment is like outside, it is going to dictate according to its own measurement. Okay, that is so critical to understand. And as I look back, I remember I had this conception of masculinity, of not showing my emotions, of never crying. And as I had other experiences, like spiritual experiences of release, of letting go, right? Of letting go of emotions that are no longer serving me, letting go of unaddressed trauma, and just crying. Like I remember I was like, I'm never gonna cry. Men don't cry, right? Big boys don't cry, big girls don't cry, whatever that conception is. But it's like, if you can't feel that emotion, then you're storing it somewhere. You're letting the energy be somewhere in your body, and then that ends up manifesting in ways that don't exactly serve you moving on. Okay. Again, with addiction, there is the work of Gabor Mate. Okay. According to his work, like addiction is a coping mechanism to unaddressed emotional trauma again. Okay. So the more that we can understand why we feel the way that we do, the more we can optimize our behaviors moving forward, and we can let go of these emotions that are no longer serving us. We can let the energy behind these emotions run out so that we can function optimally rather than function based off of these emotions that we are carrying. Okay, very, very important to do that. Now, the final thing that makes men weak is attachment. Okay, as the Buddha said, the root of all suffering is attachment. Okay, as Master Yoda said, The fear of loss is a path to the dark side. Train yourself, young Anakin, to let go of everything you fear to lose. And so many times as I look back on my own journey, yes, I had these behaviors that were destructive, that were causing me to bust nuts and deprive myself of my life force energy and watch endless amounts of TV and procrastinate. But the one addiction that was worse than all of the others was the addiction to comfort. Okay, comfort is the worst addiction. The addiction to the familiar is the worst thing that we can develop because it holds us back from entering the unknown, from entering the discomfort zone, which is the only place that you can grow. You cannot grow in your comfort zone. By its very definition, growth only happens as a result of discomfort, when we stretch ourselves beyond what we are used to. And when we get too attached to the comfortable, then we are unable to grow, we are unable to improve, we are unable to become the most capable version of ourselves. And when there is a gap between how we're showing up in life and how we are capable of showing up in life, only in that gap is the space created for regret, disillusionment, anxiety, fear, guilt, and shame to exist. As we begin to stretch ourselves, as we begin to strive for our potential, as we begin to enter the unknown, that is where we begin to close and narrow the gap between who we are and who we are capable of being. And that is when we begin to experience the higher emotions of joy, of fulfillment, of peace, of love, of knowing that we are here for something bigger than ourselves. Okay? So that is my message for you today. Understand that in order to unlock your personal power, I'm not talking about, manipulating other people or controlling other people. I'm talking about your personal power, your ability to bend the structure of reality according to your vision, according to your will, according to your idea of what you would look like in your highest expression. That really comes down to unlocking your power. Okay, so with that, some thoughts for the weekend. I hope that you got value from this. I hope that you consider where the gaps are so that you can improve them moving forward, right? Because that's what it all comes down to, awareness, right? This is not a video to say what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. This is a video to increase your awareness so that you know where the leaks are so that you can improve moving forward. Okay? So with that, I will leave you in the peace and power of the one infinite creator, and I will see you in the next video. Much love to you. Take care.